INTL information Zulu. 1900 Zulu weather. Wind light and variable, visibility more than 10. Sky conditions 1500 few, 16,000 overcast, temperature 12, dew point -12. Altimeter 3019. Arriving runways 28 right, 28 left, 03, departing runways 28 right, 28 left, 03. Advise on initial contact you have Zulu.
Hey, Captain, let me know where you want this thing. Great news, Captain. Your tow's coming. Alright, looks like the doors and hatches are closed and we're ready to connect. Welcome aboard, Captain. Tow's connected, bypass pins inserted. Go and kill the parking brake when you're ready to go. Here comes the pushback. Light 'em up. Just about done here. Go ahead and set your parking brake. And we're disconnecting the tow. Give me just a moment. And we're disconnected. Signal and pin on the left. Take it easy and have a safe flight.
Approaching 28 right. On runway 28 right.
has a few of these side pieces. These pop right here. These two fit really well. It's these upper pieces that until the final lock piece, which doesn't go in until later on based on how you're going to build the model, you know, what position. So what I would do is go ahead and just put a little bit of glue inside that, and as well as the other one, let those set up, and which I'll do that in a minute. But here's your built leg, completely articulate, which is incredible. And see, this is that little part that's still left open, and it's got a couple of pistons that they give you either in an up or down position. So, but that's the last thing you do, like I said, based on the shape the leg's going to go into. So what I'll do now is I'll go ahead and finish all 4 legs, come back, show you what they look like once they're ready to go, and we'll move on to the body. Okay, so I've got all the legs assembled, and quick little builder's tip. I screwed them up, of course, after all that talking about getting the right side. And I got those things to line up, but I didn't look in relationship to how this piece was, so I actually popped them into place backwards. But I corrected that. That was just me not paying attention to the instructions like I should have been doing. So the rest of the parts will kind of snap together. I'm not going to show you all this in regular speed, other than just a quick little builder's tip. I find it much easier to do sanding on these little nubs after you put them together, that you can get in there and just do both and kind of round over any little marks that you might have on it. That way, rather than sanding one, you don't want to sand a divot into the side of it. That's going to make it look kind of weird. And one other quick little thing, as you know, or hope maybe you don't, these original models, the original full-scale models, the filming models that were built back in the 70s and 80s, were made out of basically old Tamiya, Hasegawa, Revell, anything that they could find from the time. Now I just cut this piece off the sprue, and if you look closely at it, because Bandai did such a fabulous job copying the original filming models, the front portion of this is right here is actually the Tamiya 222 armored car that they made back in the early 70s, and Bandai copied it right to a T. It's kind of cool to look these kits over and see the original parts. In fact, just like the barrels right here, these were originally off of the Tiger model Tamiya made, and that they just sliced a little slice right through the front there to make them look a little bit more like laser guns. But these models, the original filming models, are just full of old model parts from the 70s. Okay, the next step is going to be adding those little parts that have the pistons inside of that. And that's the final little piece that locks the leg together. And once the leg is together, we can go ahead and start to attach them to the side of the vehicle here. There we go. And the way they've designed it, this can all be moved out and in. You really can get quite a bit of cool design going on this. And once again, just make sure that the inside has that piston on the inside there. Snap these into place. And there we go. We've got the leg portion of our build already done. Now we can attach the head portion of the build by snapping this little piece in, followed up by snapping in this part. And there we go. So we've got the bulk of it done now. And if I'm not mistaken, yeah, the next part will be, we'll just get the drop. Get this right here. And that just snaps into place as well. And then I just have a few other little parts to glue on, or to snap into place on the back, although I think we'll probably glue these on because there's some of the smaller parts. Well, here we are. Here's our completed model. And because of the flexibility of the way Bandai has designed this, you can even design it to be placed in a position as if it's been tripped. But very, very cool kit, extremely easy to put together, especially when you pay attention to the instructions. It goes together really well. It's got some great features, the way it can lock the turret head in or pop this out, and that's how you can get that position like we just showed you. So now that we have it up to this point, and also like I was showing you too, all of this can turn so you can make it look like it's in a different positions for any type of diorama. So now what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and start painting the vehicle, and then hopefully we should be able to make up a little diorama base too. And I plan on using some of Tamiya's new snow effect to build a little base out of it. And so let's start with the painting. Okay, we've got the model all cleaned up and sanded as best we can, that we're going to start doing the paint job on. The first thing I'm going to do on this is I'm going to do the black and white technique on this, because it is such a light color and it's a solid color. I think it's going to look really good when we do the black and white technique over it. Now the color that we're going to paint once we get the black and white on there is going to be Sky Gray XF19, and I find it to be the closest color to the way the plastic and the real model is supposed to look. Look. So the first step we'll do is we'll do the black and white, and then we'll come back and do the sky gray over it. Now the black and white coat is completely applied, and you'll be able to see the highlights pop through once we put the gray color on. And you don't have to do the black and white coat. It's just going to make a more streaking, mottled effect of the metal, look to the vehicle. So it's going to look like it's been worn. It's got a little bit of weathering on it here and there without having to do a lot of weathering on it. So let's go ahead and put the gray on. Decided to do a little bit of light weathering, some streaks and some panel line highlights, and I started doing on this section, but I'll show you what I've done here. Taking a little bit of just a little paint thinner, just putting a light little coat on here. I find that if you put that on underneath the Tamiya panel liner, it has a tendency to flow a lot better, and it doesn't matter if you get any extra anywhere, because you're going to use that as the streaking agent. And just going to put a little bit, some of these little highlight areas. And not too heavy of a coat, but just enough. And if you accidentally touch it, don't worry about it like that. That easily comes off. And then what you can do is just start taking your brush and just streaking down the surface. And keep messing around with it till you get it to the way you want. But hopefully you can start to see what I did on this panels over here. Thought real fast I'd just kind of show you the basics on doing the leg detailing as well too. So we're just applying just a thin coat of paint thinner to it right now. And then just putting a coat of our panel wash. Kind of heavy in some areas because we want it to pop out all of these little details. And then after that has been applied, you can just go ahead and take your brush, start streaking it down. And then finally taking a cotton swab and hitting the areas, the flat areas that you don't want any of that streaking effect on there, to make it a little bit cleaner. And that way the streaks that do turn up in the panel line really makes it pop. Now I just did that leg really quick just to kind of show you guys. We're going to go over it and do it a little bit better job on it, but that's the basics of putting on that panel liner on this piece. So I'm going to go ahead and finish that up right now and show you what it looks like. So I've got the snow kind of in, leveled out and kind of smooth. I wanted a little bit of rough texture to it, so it kind of looks like drifts, things, just so it's not perfect. Now I've come up with this pose. I know not the most exciting pose in the world, but it's very similar to all the pictures that I've seen online. One foot starting to lift up, so it'll also be a very steady pose, because you don't want to do something too crazy putting it on this so it doesn't fall over. Now this stuff takes quite a while to dry, but once it does, it should hopefully lock the model into place on it. So what we'll do is we'll just kind of place it in there. I'm also going to leave a little bit of a gap in the front up here as well, because Bandai has mentioned that they're going to come out with a 144 scale snow speeder, that we might be able to plow one of those right up here in the front, kind of give the diorama a little bit of fun to it, and then we can go back and use some of the extra snow to kind of make like the little bank around it as it crashed in, as if it's going to step on it, just like from the movie. So I'm going to go ahead and attach this to the base and come back and show you what it looks like. Actually, I just decided I'm going to actually show you attaching the base, and you can see how we're going to put this down, and then just using some kind of utensil, kind of push the extra pads into the deeper snow, kind of give it a nice effect. Also be the effect of helping secure it once this stuff dries. And finally got the last one back there. And I think that these would be kind of in the down position as it starts to lift the foot. And finally what I'll do is I'm just going to go ahead and take a little bit of the excess. And I noticed on the pictures that we saw that there was extra snow on the outer edges of these pads right here, so try to make it as realistic as possible. So I'm going to mess around with that for a few minutes, kind of build up a little snow effect on this before this fully dries, make it more like the movie, and show you the final product. So here we are. Here's our completed build. As you can see, we went ahead and streaked all the different things. That's all dried nice and flat. The snow effect, we put a little bit up on the tops of the pads, or excuse me, the tops of the little toes, I guess you'd call them, and a little bit around the pads. And looking at pictures from the internet of the actual filming models in the movie, it kind of looked that way. So I'll give you a little 360 all the way around. And this was, like I was telling you earlier, this was just a nice, simple build. No fighting with me. It literally took me about one full day, but I had a lot of fun building, and that's the most important part about modeling. The snow looks really good. It probably doesn't show up as well on camera, but you can really see a lot of the crystal effect. Looks like the real snow does. and once that dries, it'll actually glue the piece right into place on it there. So I thought this would be a nice little break from the tank models, because you know I like to do sci-fi from now and then. And I want to thank everybody too. The channel is about to hit 40,000 subscribers probably within the next day or two. So really excited about that. I'm really flattered by the fact that so many of you tune in on a weekly basis to see the model builds. So I want to thank you as always for watching, and please stay tuned because I have many more model builds coming. Hi, it's Andy from Hobby Headquarters, and today we're going to be building Tamiya's early Tiger 1. Let's get started. I decided to use a Tamiya kit for this project. I know some of the Dragon kits are a little more detailed in some areas, but I wanted to keep something with a lower part count so I could spend more time on weathering and detailing it rather than 3 days building it. Okay, the first coat we're going to put on is NATO Black. This is going to be our shadow coat. Now we're going to apply XF63 German Gray. The next coat we're going to apply a mixture of XF63 and XF60, dark yellow. We're going to mix the two just slightly to lighten the gray and give it a mottled tone. Here we're doing a little dry brushing with a mixture of NATO Black and NATO Brown to give it a real dark brown, and just hitting some of the highlight points. Now we're going to apply all the decals. Okay, in this step I'm going to apply a couple of coats of hairspray. Okay, using XF1 and a little buff, XF57, we're going to tone down the white. Probably like 20 parts white to 1 part of the buff. But just want to give it not so stark. Now using a wet paintbrush and toothbrush, we're going to start to chip off the old paint, the white paint. This part can be a little difficult in the sense that you've got to scrub kind of hard sometimes, so just be careful not to knock any of your parts off. You're going to want to use downward strokes on the sides of the vehicle to represent rain or other snow that has softened the whitewash and made it flow down the vehicle. Okay, after we've done that step, now we're going to take just XF1 white and we're going to spray another coat of it on there to give a different layer of the whitewash effect. And then we're going to do the same thing, wet toothbrush, and we're going to start scraping off some of the paint. Okay, on the second coat we're not going to scrub as hard this time because we want to leave a little bit more whitewash behind. you can also take your paper towel and blot a little bit over the surfaces to get the excess water. Now using, to me as weathering master, the black soot color, we're going to highlight the wheels a little bit more and get rid of some of the excess white that we couldn't scrub off completely. Now taking some artist oils, we're using a little burnt umber and raw sienna, and we're going to start toning up the tracks a little bit. That includes the spares on the front. Okay, now we're going to use a pin wash and start to highlight some of the areas of the tanks, kind of break up the monotony of all the black and white and gray. We're going to use Vallejo wash, and I'm using kind of a light rust with a medium brown kind of mixed into it to give it a nice little tone. I'm going to start to apply it to all the little nooks and crannies around the wheels first, and then we're going to start working our way up. Now using that same pen wash, we're going to just lightly go over some of the cracks and crevices of the vehicle, once again to break up the stark gray and white. You can see as it dries, it fades slightly and adds just a little color to it and doesn't make it so stark. We're going to give the same treatment to the turret, going around the cupola and any of the little nooks and crannies up on top. Last thing I'm going to do is I'm going to apply a little bit more dry brushing using a little NATO black just on some of the high edges. The last step I'm going to do is I'm going to use a little more pigment, stark white pigment, to give it a snow effect. We're just going to kind of sprinkle it on the bottoms and the tops of the track and any other parts of the vehicle itself.
Taco weather. Wind 230 at 66. Visibility more than 10. Sky clear. Temperature 4. Dew point -8.
Well, I think we finished up right here, and I know there was lots and lots of steps, and hopefully you're able to follow along all right. If you have any questions or comments, please leave them down below. Thank you for watching our video, and please stay tuned. We'll have lots more of how-to videos coming.
230 at 66. Visibility more than 10. Sky clear. Temperature 4. Dew point -8. Altimeter 3006. Truckee Taco weather. Wind 230 at 66. Visibility more than 10. Sky clear. Temperature 4. Dew point -8. Altimeter 3006. Truckee Taco weather. Wind 230 at 64. Visibility more than 10. Sky clear. Temperature 4. Dew point -8. Altimeter 3006. Truckee Taco weather. Wind 230 at 64. Visibility more than 10. Sky clear. Temperature 4. Dew point -8. Altimeter 3006. Truckee Taco weather. Wind 230 at 64. Visibility more than 10. Sky conditions 2,300 overcast. Temperature 4. Dew point 0. Altimeter 3001.
Hi everyone, it's Andy from Hobby Headquarters. Well, today I've got an exciting new model to build and share with you guys. This is the TACOM Models 1/35th scale Mark of a Mark I. It's a brand new kit from TACOM. I was looking through the screws, looks to be a really beautiful kit. In fact, earlier, about a week ago, so I did a preview video of upcoming builds, and I showed some of the screws and stuff inside of it, so it looks really nice. In fact, what I'll do at the beginning, after the intro, I will show a little bit of that video again, just to kind of break down how the kit looks. This kit is just starting to arrive in the United States in small numbers, but it should be out in force very, very soon, and I'm sure the rest of the world as well. So, also, many of you guys might be noticing I have a t-shirt out in front of me called the Mediocre Modelers. And I've gotten a lot of people asking about the t-shirts. About 2 weeks ago I did a little live cast and I was talking about this, and the whole story behind the Mediocre Modelers Club is a lot of people take this hobby really way too serious. This is supposed to be a fun, exciting hobby, and that's how I treat it. This is my livelihood and I love it, but I still don't take it that seriously when things are wrong. And it all boils down to, right after my channel started to take off a little bit, there were some people on there, of course, the typical, the negative stuff, but one of them called me a mediocre modeler, and I thought it was hilarious. So I had some t-shirts printed up for myself, because I was like, if I'm going to be a mediocre modeler, I'm going to wear it proudly. And a few of my friends wanted some. And then about 2 weeks ago, I mentioned it in the live broadcast about having fun with this hobby, and it went crazy, and a bunch of people were ordering them up on our Spreadshirt account. So if you want a Mediocre Modelers Club, they have the Andy's Hobby Headquarters on the front there, and also we have a new design for the front as well. That's all visible on the website, but what you can do is, right underneath in the description thing, there's a link to our Spreadshirt account. If you're interested in a Mediocre Modelers Club, you can pick them up here. You can change the color. Spreadshirt lets you do all different types of things. They've got all the way up to 4X, from small to 4X large in these shirts, plus all the different colors and stuff. So, not enough trying to hawk that stuff right there, but so many people were asking about it, I thought I'd let them know, hey, this is what they look like, and you can pick them up there. So, let's get started on it.
This is an all brand new kit from TACOM, and also one of the things that I like about doing the Mark I that I plan to build up is this kit is completely accurate to not have anti-skid on it. When these the original tanks came out, they did not start putting the anti-skid on them on Mark I, so it's not in the kit and it's actually accurate that way. So let's take a look at the inside parts. Okay, the first parts we're going to take a look at are the hull, the lower hull, the upper part of the hull, and the turret. And as you can see, this is molded as a bathtub style hull. One thing I really appreciate is, though, all of these little tiny parts on the side, which a lot of companies will mold as after, as other parts you have to glue on, all of that's molded right into the side of the hull. You have nice big sponson top bottoms on the right here, so you don't have to worry about filling any of that stuff. And the upper hull is absolutely beautiful too. Very, very nicely detailed. And checking for fit, looks like that just pops right into place on it too. So just gluing two parts together and taking a look at all the extra detail of the latch assemblies, the handles, all of that stuff is just absolutely gorgeous on this kit. And then we'll come over to the top of the turret, as you can see right here. It's got all the built-in latches, all of that stuff all molded right in and done beautifully too. Because this stuff, when they give it to you as a separate part, sometimes you end up gluing it on and it doesn't even look any better than the way it can come out right here, and that saves you all that work. And even this little part, this is kind of cool. This is actually molded in already too, so obviously this has been done with slide molding to get all of these holes going this way plus parts coming off on it. So beautifully done, TACOM. Okay, next we're going to look at suspension and wheels that come inside here. And as you can see right here, the suspension looks very, very nicely done, and small connection points for all of that. And the wheels with the rubber already molded on look really nice. Not positive how that ring is going to fit into it. Hopefully it's a ring maybe for these wheels right here, might be the edge on that. When we get into the instructions, we'll look closely at it. And you get 2 sprues of that. Now we're going to take a closer look, I should say, at the tracks. Now, as you can see just by the sprue right here, we have link and length tracks. So you've got 2 long runs right here, which will make up the top portion, which will be covered by the side skirts anyway. You got the bottom port would all be on the ground, but the detail is very, very nice in all of those. And then you have these are the parts that will go up from the bottom with maybe a track or 2, and then the rest of the tracks will wrap around the drive sprocket and return idler. Now, this is the other thing I want to show you guys too, since we're talking about the tracks. TACOM has given you these 2 little guides that you can basically put the idler and the drive sprocket on, build your tracks completely around this form, that they've given you with it, except for the bottom piece. Looking at the instructions, you'll be able to get them all to dry, pop them off with the drive sprocket and idler, and just slide the whole piece right on as one big piece. Love this idea that we can go ahead and do this separately and then paint the tracks up and then pop them on after we're all done. So another great little point on this kit. Really liking that they've included this with it. Okay, and the next sprue we're going to take a quick look at here is probably one of the most impressive parts of the entire kit, to me at least. And we have basically the lower part of the turret here, as you can see. But then we have our bins in the back, and it has the ball and chain armor, 3-dimensionally molded, all into place. And I'll get it as close as possible right there so you can see it. I think it looks great. The chain is hollowed out, and I'll show you some of the different pieces there. That is such a time saver, because so many times companies try to make it in photo etch and it looks 2-dimensional and kind of cheesy looking. This looks wonderful right here. Once we paint that up, and since it's hollowed out and the ball itself is 3-dimensionally round, it looks really nice. And one other thing I'll show you real fast too is one of the machine guns that's up on the upper top. And you've got your mortar right here, but the machine gun really looks nice on it. And the last sprue we'll take a closer look at is the side skirts, which are all molded as one. We have our stretcher, which is a very common thing to see on Israeli tanks. And finally the barrel. Now the barrel is molded in 2 pieces, but very nicely done. Hopefully you can see the detail that's in there. It is going to be a little bit of a pain taking the seam out of the middle, and I wish it would have been more of a stack type barrel, slide molded, but I understand why, because of all the intricacies on it. It'll be a little tough to mold. Okay, to start building the lower part of the hull with all the shocks and things like that in it. A lot of these parts have already been molded in, as I showed you earlier, but this is the number of parts that go onto the side of the lower hull. And each one of them has an individual different number. So what I've done is I've been taking them off and kind of lining them up according to the way the instructions are, so we don't misplace, because this one's got a different number than this, even though they look similar. We want everything to work out. And yes, you could probably figure it out, but if you messed all this up, you're talking a lot of extra time trying to get them all lined up properly. So what I'm going to do is, rather than just watch me put this stuff on, I'm going to go ahead and glue all of these parts on right here, and we'll come back and show you what it looks like. Okay, there's quite a few parts, but this is what it looks like when you get the suspension all done up. Now, once you do, and before everything dries, you can use this as a guide to make sure that all of the pins line up properly. There are a few more parts that we need to put in here before we start putting the tracks and stuff, but this is a very helpful tool to make sure everything lines up the way it's supposed to fit. So I'm going to go ahead and start gluing on the rest of the parts that go on in here. Okay, I'm about to fit these pieces into place. And I wanted to actually almost forget to tell you about something. When you're going ahead and doing that first step with the instructions, they kind of just show everything just going on all at once. Here's a little builder's tip. This little assembly with the 2 springs on each one, put that in last. If you put it in anytime before any of the other pieces, it makes the other pieces very, very difficult to get inside. So 2 springs, 2 springs, 2 springs, that little assembly, put that in last. And then as you can see for these pieces, these just literally pop right into place. Beautiful lower suspension on this kit. And here's the lower hull, all the suspension, I should say, all glued into place. We have all the coverings put on, all those other little pieces. Looks really, really nice. We've also gone ahead and assembled the drive sprocket and the return, the idler. And I popped those into place because that's the next step that we're going to need on it. These are not glued, obviously. This is going to help us lay out all of our tracks the way they're supposed to go on. And I've also started to assemble the road wheels, and those will just pop right into place. And what I thought I would do is just give you a quick breakdown on how TACOM's laid this out. You have 5 pieces that make up each road wheel. So you have the inner and outer wheel. There is this spacer that will slide in here that you must put into place there, and that keeps the gap for the there it goes, for the guide horns to go sliding through. If you don't, the hole is like that big on it. Not quite sure why they didn't mold that right into place. It must be a type of thing that it's a different piece for another variant or something, but it's easy enough to cut off and put on. And then finally, you will just glue the little hub right into place, like that, and that's your road wheels. So there's quite a few of them. Obviously there's 12, so I'm going to go ahead and assemble all of those. These can just pop on, they just fit into place, and we can take them off so we can paint the rubber on later. And then once we get all those road wheels done, we can start working on the tracks to assemble them into this. We won't put them on to the very last thing because we're going to paint them separately, but we can start working on them. Well, here we are working on the tracks. Now back here you can see that I have one set of tracks completed on the jig, except for the little bottom piece. We have not glued that into place. And all of this track is still removable because it's not actually glued to the to any of the other parts. Now this is how we go about putting it together. What I've done is I've taken these pieces of track, these are all the individuals and the link and length, and making sure first of all that they're going the right direction. We want to get it, figure out where the drop off is here. So yeah, you get it lined up, and these are the individual tracks that we've already wet down a little bit with the liquid cement, and they've been set up probably for about 5-6 minutes now. And then we can just wrap the tracks right around like that. We'll let those set up like this. What I do is just hold it into this position, let them dry for about a good hour or so like that. And then what you'll get will be something like this, where we can pop the track out, take it off that side, and we still have the shape of the track that we need. Now here is the one little tough part. I'm going to slide this part back, and I'll show you what I've done. I've started assembling some of the pieces on the rear as well as the upper part of the hull. If we go ahead and attach or keep building like they want you to, we build these portions right here. These little flaps are going to prevent us getting the tracks on. And you know, you can leave it with, you know, gluing the idler and the drive sprocket into place. Problem with that is that kind of prevents us from getting a good paint job that we want. So just to break it down, this is what I've come up with my plan to do. I am going to this is the little hatchback here too. We're going to paint all of this lower part of the body. We're going to paint the drive sprocket and idler in place on here. We're going to paint the tracks completely separately too. We're basically going to build the whole lower part of this vehicle, paint and leave it off to the side, wheels, everything. And then what we'll do is we'll build the old upper part, paint that separately, and hopefully we should be able to mate the two together finally. That way we'll have our tracks in a good paint job on it. Everything should work. And like we're showing us, these are all the extra pieces we started putting on the back here. So not too many parts on it, but it will be a little bit. So I've got all the wheels all masked off, ready to go. And now I'm going to go ahead and just start painting all this lower portion of the hull. So I've put the
approaching 25 left.
Above 300. Minimum 200. Retard 5.
Feet remaining. Approaching 07 left.